in a rather noisy pit lane. It's very nice for me to be back with the BBC team working here in the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. But this time we have rather a new boy, a young man who's just retired from the world of Grand Prix motor racing, one James Hunt. James, first of all, the obvious question, the incredible speeds that we're seeing here in qualifying and practice, this must impress even you.
Yeah, that's why I got out quick. When we were testing here, we were getting some ideas of that, and I thought I'm a bit too old for that sort of thing, Jackie.
James, the speeds, now more than 145 miles an hour around this Silverstone racetrack. Alan Jones in pole position. Now, Alan's been knocking at the door for a long time. What do you think for the race?
Well, I think it looks at the moment as if Alan's got the thing well sewn up before it starts. His car seems to me to be superior to all the others. It's really a question of whether he can finish. Alan would probably have won 2 or 3 races at least already this year had he not had car trouble. The team doesn't have a great reliability record. And so, but I think now they've got a fast car, they should be ready for a breakthrough, and maybe it'll happen here.
The Renaults are now super competitive. Obviously, they must be heavily considered.
Yes, well, of course, a lot of it depends on tyres, and that's something, of course, that we don't know exactly how their race tyres are going to perform, because, of course, the times that they do in qualifying are done on slightly different tyres to get the quick laps in. So it's really a question of waiting to see how they settle in.
Certainly the Brabhams are competitive. Nelson Piquet faster than his #1 driver, and now for several races has been faster. This must be a lot of pressure for Niki Lauda.
Well, what do you think? A hell of a lot of pressure for him. But it's always hard to explain things like that. You know, there are so little differences between the cars, as you well know. You know, if Nicky's got a bad engine for the weekend or something like that. But there's no doubt that Nelson is going really well. He's fantastic, isn't he? He's suddenly got it really together.
Tremendously talented and very intelligent too. John Watson, the British hope in the McLaren.
Well, it's great for them because at long last they've struggled all year. Well, I struggled with them last year. The McLarens have been in the doldrums. They built this new car, they got it straight out of the box, and that's their best grid position, their best practice showing since really the first race of the season. And their third row of the grid, they're in with a chance to win. If Alan Jones goes, you know, I think the Renaults are probably well on top, but after that, you know, all the people up on the grid like John Watson are in with a good chance.
Well, let's see what the race is going to do. We think Alan Jones is going to be successful. We think also Nelson Piquet could be there, but let's just wait and see what happens.
Well, we're delighted that Jackie Stewart and James Hunt had their special expertise to our commentary team, and of course all the questions will now be answered in less than 10 minutes' time when the British Grand Prix gets underway. Let's join Murray Walker.
You have seen the enormous crowd that is here at Silverstone today, certainly the biggest that I have ever seen in the many years that the British Grand Prix has been run here. And they're here to see what is undoubtedly going to be a sensational race. You've heard from Jackie Stewart and James Hunt about the main competitors, and we have had an absolutely sensational practice period, with Alan Jones going round at never-before speeds at Silverstone, and the fastest lap at some 146 miles an hour. So, the championship now is Jody Scheckter, the Ferrari driver, in the lead, a clear 4 points ahead of his teammate Gilles Villeneuve, the French-Canadian. Jacques Laffite, the Frenchman who won the first 2 races of the year, third in the Ligier, and it would seem likely that one of those 3 must win this year's World Championship. Patrick Depailler out of the running with 2 broken legs after a hang gliding accident. Carlos Reutemann, reliable rather than fast in the Lotus, in 4th equal position. And Mario Andretti, the reigning world champion, who today, incidentally, is driving the Lotus 79 and not the Lotus 78, in 6th place and a long, long way behind the world championship leader, Jody Scheckter. So, now, with the race soon to begin, let us have a look at the circuit and the car that's put up pole position, Alan Jones's Saudia Williams, with Jackie Stewart.
Well, he goes along in front of the pits here, goes into Cops Corner. It's a 3rd gear corner for Alan Jones in this car, using 5-speed gearbox. He accelerates into 4th gear and then gets it into 5th gear here, going through a fast left-hand kink and approaching Beckett's, about the slowest corner in the racetrack. Brakes heavily, puts it into 3rd gear again. And look at Alan Jones chucking the car into the corner there. Not a a sight you often see in modern Grand Prix racing, using every inch of the road there, going through the left-hander, going on to Hanger Straight, a speed of about 175 miles an hour he gets down here. Car slipping through the air very efficiently. He brakes slightly for Stowe Corner, sticks it into fourth gear, tight line all the way through fourth gear through Stowe. Look at the speed as he comes out there with the grandstands behind, comes towards Club, just lifts off at Club ever so slightly, can get it flat if everything goes well. Fourth gear through here, averaging more than 146 miles an hour, gets into fifth gear around here, goes through the left-hander of Abbey Curve, goes towards Woodcote, getting up to 175 miles an hour again as he comes up below the bridge and enters towards the chicane.
68 laps then is going to be the race at Silverstone as Alan Jones finishes that sensationally fast practice lap. They are down there on the grid. Let us have a look at them. In the bottom left corner of your screen, the fastest man in practice with an absolutely incredible lap. 1 minute, 11 seconds, 88. Alan Jones, James Hunt.
Well, Alan Jones, I think, has been one of the more underrated drivers in Grand Prix racing up until this season. He's now at long last got into the really good car that he deserves. Unfortunately, he hasn't had the results that he deserves this year because the Williams has not had a good reliability record. But with the car going fast now, they've been working on their reliability, and today may well be the breakthrough that they've been looking for with a healthy run to the finish. If that happens, I think Alan will win easily.
Second fastest, the Frenchman Jean-Pierre Jabouille, who won the French Grand Prix in the turbocharged 1.5 litre Renault, 1 minute, 12.48 seconds. James.
Jabouille, another immensely experienced driver, has been around for years. He's now on a big new high note after his very first Grand Prix win 2 weeks ago. And although he hasn't got the speed here that Alan Jones has got, the Michelin tires, I think, on his car work pretty well, and he should be right up there with bags of power from the turbocharged engine.
And the third fastest, an absolute sensation this, the young Brazilian Nelson Piquet in his first Formula One season in the Parmalat V12 Brabham Alfa Romeo. Third fastest, 1 minute, 12.65 seconds. James.
Well, Nelson Piquet spent the last couple of months showing, I think, the world of Grand Prix racing that he's a truly outstanding talent. The last 3 or 4 races, he's been fairly consistently quicker than Niki Lauda in qualifying, and his experience is growing all the time. He's immensely intelligent, which is a very important factor in achieving success in Grand Prix racing. I think Nelson Piquet is on the brink of success. Today could be his day. If not, it's going to come very soon.
Today indeed could be his day, and here's a man who's had a lot of Grand Prix days. Fourth fastest, the incredible veteran, the Swiss driver Clay Regazzoni, ex-Ferrari man, 5 Grand Prix wins today in the Saudia Williams. Fourth fastest, 2 Williams in the first 2 rows. James Hunt.
Well, Clay's not as quick as he used to be. He's now very much a number 2 driver. He's number 2 to Alan Jones in the Williams team, but their car is so good here, so much superior to all the others, that Clay is my second favourite for success after Alan. Should Alan have any trouble with his car and Clay run healthily, I think that the car is sufficiently superior that Clay's good enough to beat all the rest in a Williams today if Alan falls out.
Fifth fastest, the second of the 2 turbocharged Renaults, and it's the young Frenchman René Arnoux, who was such a sensation in the French Grand Prix in which he took 3rd place. Fifth fastest here at Silverstone. What do you think of him, James?
Well, Murray, I think René Arnoux is a guy who has yet to really show his abilities. He's new, we know he's got ability, he's shown it in other formulae, but at the moment he's not going quicker than Jabouille, who's his number 1 driver. I think he's in a newly developing team. We have yet to see how he'll go, but he certainly drove brilliantly in France, and I think, with the new car running well with all that power, he's got every chance to show it today.
And sixth fastest, probably the craftiest Grand Prix driver of all now, ex-double world champion 75 and 77, Niki Lauda, the great Austrian, in the second of the 2 Parmalat V12 Brabhams. James.
Well, of course, Niki has the greatest wealth of experience and talent, I think, to draw on of anybody in the race today. Nelson Piquet has gone quicker than him in qualifying, and for that reason I think you'll find that Niki is going to be really fired up today. We may well see some real fireworks from Niki if he can get his car going well enough.
And wonderful news in the 4th row, 7th fastest, welcome back to Grand Prix racing as it were, John Watson, the Irish driver from Ulster in the brand new M29 McLaren, which has gone very well in practice, as James said, straight out of the box.
Yes, the Marlboro McLaren team have done a great job. They built a new car. Their car that they had put their hopes on for this season was was really a failure, wasn't doing the job. Watson was struggling right at the back. Fortunately now the new car's gone well straight out of the box. John's confident and happy, the whole team's up, and I think although they're not, their speed today isn't running with the very quickest of the field, if any of the really quick men drop out, John's going to be right in there mixing it with what I call the leading middle bunch of the field, and a winner often comes from there.
And behind in the 5th row, it's Mario Andretti and Jacques Lafitte. But ahead of them, with John Watson, Carlos Reutemann in the Lotus. So let's not forget the 2 Ferraris, because that was incredible, because the man who is leading the World Championship, Jody Scheckter, was only 11th fastest in practice, way off the pace of Alan Jones, largely because he was very unhappy with the tyres that he had on his car, and 13th fastest, Gilles Villeneuve, the French-Canadian who won in South Africa and who won in America and who is in 2nd place in the World Championship. So that's something totally unexpected, and the turbocharged Renaults must have a big advantage at Silverstone. They're tremendously fast. For instance, as they go underneath the bridge at Woodcote, before Woodcote, they have been timed repeatedly at 195 miles an hour, which is considerably quicker than the Ford Cosworth V8 powered cars. So now, with the news that this is 68 laps, the engines are running, the grid is starting to be cleared, the sun is shining, it's a brave and magnificent sight at Silverstone. The crowd all round the circuit is pushing forward to the ropes and barriers, and Silverstone has never been in better condition. The engines are running. I don't see any problems down there on the grid, and incidentally the grid line, as you can see, goes right round Woodcote towards the chicane, the so-called chicane, although it is now a totally artificial corner through which the drivers go at some 125 miles an hour with the new 1979 ground effects cars. Alan Jones in pole position, 1 minute 11.88 seconds, a speed of some 146 miles an hour, and that is 0.6 of a second faster than the 2nd fastest Jean-Pierre Jabouille. There is the front row of the grid, and this is the warm-up lap as they go away down towards Copse. Jackie Stewart.
Well, at this time they're warming their car up, they're warming their engine up, they're warming their tyres up. Everyone very much aware that they have this lap to make sure that they're comfortable in their motor car. Racing drivers at a time like this will be giving their seat belts an extra tighten. Alan Jones leading the field through there. They all generally warm their cars up a little bit. We may see a bit of weaving going on there. They're coming now to Beckett's, and you're coming down to Beckett's and going through Alan Jones, taking a lead of the Renault here. It's very important, in fact, at the beginning for the Renault, because of the turbo lag. When you press the accelerator pedal on a turbocharged car, it doesn't react quite as quickly in a normally aspirated car. And that movement that you're seeing in the field now, that's them scrubbing the tyres, getting the tyre temperatures up. Because, of course, the tyres are cold at this time, and they only work to their best efficiency when they're warm. So those drivers at this time, moving the cars around in the racetrack, you see Gilles Villeneuve doing it right now in the back in the Ferrari, Jody Scheckter in the middle, the Tyrrell's there. As they're coming towards Club Corner now, somebody getting a bit of acceleration on there, clearing the throat of the car, so to speak, so that the car is absolutely clean with regards to its fuel injection when it comes up to stop very briefly when they come round to the end of this warm-up lap. Coming in the shadow now. Now the turbocharged cars obviously prefer a slightly cooler temperature. Their turbos work better at a cooler temperature, and this is very important nowadays at the beginning of a race, because the Renaults sometimes have trouble getting away when the red light turns to green. Alan Jones should have an advantage at this time. There you see the emergency vehicle sitting there just in case something happens on the first lap, and I'll hand you back now to Murray Walker.
Round into the Woodcote corner, the right, the left, and this is very slow compared with the speed they will be going very shortly. They missed the chicane there, the cones are across. They will be lifted as soon as the last car is through. The cars now form up, and one of the arrows, it's Riccardo Patrese, is going into the pits. You just saw him to the left of your picture there, and that's terrible luck for him. Now we wait for the red lights to go on, and then the green as Patrese goes in, And so, now with the warm-up lap completed, all ready for the 68th lap Marlborough British Grand Prix. Punching through, it's Clay Regazzoni taking the lead. That's incredible. It's the two Saudia Williams cars first into Copse Corner. Alan Jones and Clay Regazzoni, the Australian and the veteran Swiss driver, and they lead, and it's Regazzoni as they go round the left-hander and Baggett's down towards Beckett's, the right-hander. There is Gilles Villeneuve, the Ferrari driver, and that's a wonderful sight. The two white and green Saudia Williams cars going down towards the left-hander at Chapel, down Hanger Straight for the first time in this 68-lap race, and they're coming through. That's Jabouille. Jean-Pierre Jabouille is going to go through. He's got tremendous speed and power here, 510 horsepower, and it is still Alan Jones leads now, with Jabouille on the outside of Clay Regazzoni, kicking up some concrete dust that's been laid over oil, and there to the right are Niki Lauda and Nelson Piquet. Tremendous drama right at the beginning of the race, and it's still Alan Jones, the man who was so sensational in practice. It's Jabouille in second position, it's Clay Regazzoni in third position, and then the Parmalat Brabham in fourth place. Coming towards us now, and Nelson Piquet is in the Parmalat Brabham in fourth position and trying to take Regazzoni. And it's Jones, Jabouille, Regazzoni, Piquet, Lauda, Andretti, Arnoux and Jacques Lafitte in the first of the two Ligier cars as Jean-Pierre Jabouille rounds the right-hander at Copse at some 125 miles an hour. But now Alan Jones has got a clear circuit in front of him, but Jean-Pierre Jabouille has got tremendous performance as we watch Nelson Piquet, and now Jones, and look, Jones has already got about 6 car lengths lead over the turbocharged 1.5 litre Renault of Jean-Pierre Jabouille as they go round Chapel for the second time. Jabouille, this is where he took the cars in front of him on the first lap, and Alan Jones moves across at Stowe. This is a 150 mile an hour bend now. Yes, 150 miles an hour. Fifth gear down into fourth for Club. 10,500 RPM Alan Jones says he takes this corner at, and that's 150 miles an hour too. And the positions, 27 Alan Jones, in second place 15 Jabouille, in third position number 28 Clay Regazzoni, and in fourth place number 6, and that's Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian. And Jabouille, and look, these two as Jones goes through the chicane for the second time, followed by Jabouille, and look at the lead that these two are pulling out. Jackie Stewart, comment.
A tremendous start there. We've seen a little incident down here. Nelson Piquet spun out in the chicane there, but he's all right, and they go through there with Niki Lauda now taking up an advantage, and there you see the car of Nelson Piquet, a little over-exuberance by our young Brazilian driver. He was sitting there in fourth position. He stalled his engine. He's not allowed to get outside assistance. He cannot be pushed. He probably will not get back into the race. He's not allowed by legislation to be push-started and assisted back in there. But there you see again Alan Jones looking in his mirror, cocking his head to the side as they go down into Stowe Corner there. Certainly the Renault closing up on Alan Jones as they go through that wide, fast corner there. Jabouille waiting his time. It's a long race of 65 laps. There's no point of a driver getting overexcited this early in the race. Alan Jones very cool, using a lot of road round there, being shadowed by Jabouille. When a car gets too close to the car in front, its aerodynamics get upset, and therefore occasionally a driver will prefer to sit back a little bit and view the action as they're going on. You can see the gap there now to Niki Lauda as we saw them coming up towards the chicane, but certainly it's still Alan Jones with a slight advantage.
And up into the new fourth position has come Niki Lauda, Nelson Piquet's teammate, as we look at Clay Regazzoni, the man that was so magnificent at Monza in Monaco in second place, and it's Arnoux. René Arnoux is up into fourth position now, and coming towards us, there is Mario Andretti, who had trouble all through practice of one kind and another, opted to drive the Lotus 79 rather than the Lotus 80, and it looks as though already Mario Andretti's British Grand Prix is run, and Mario has had the most appalling luck this year. He's in sixth position in the World Championship, and Nelson Piquet walking into the pits away from Woodcote Corner, the chicane. Nelson Piquet's race is over. Mario Andretti's race looks as though it is virtually over, although it's difficult to see what is happening. And Alan Jones now is still leading on lap 4 in this 68-lap race, with Jean-Pierre Jabouille driving very coolly behind him. And Jabouille can afford to take his time. He's got a superior performance in terms of top speed. Terrific power, 510 horsepower, and they complete 4 laps with now an enormous gap building up between Alan Jones, number 27, in the Saudia Williams, who earlier today said, "I used to pray for rain, but not anymore because I am longing for the weather to stay dry." So the positions now on this, the 5th lap. In the lead as Alan Jones, behind him Jabouille, in 3rd position Clay Regazzoni, in 4th position now René Arnoux in the 2nd of the 2 turbocharged Renaults. Mario Andretti is out of the race, has retired. In 5th position is Gilles Villeneuve. In 6th place, and he's slipping down, it's Niki Lauda, and in 7th position Jody Scheckter in the top Ferrari. James Hunt.
Well, Murray, it seems that when Piquet spun at the chicane, he managed to hold up quite a large group of cars, and the whole field bunched up behind the leading 3. And since that race has settled down, the 2 Ferraris have come through. That's Villeneuve running up in 5th or 6th place, with Scheckter right behind him. And they've come from pretty lowly grid positions. I think that their tyres work much better on their race rubber than they did relative to their qualifying position, so expect to see them moving steadily through the field. They're already challenging at the front of the supporting group behind Alan Jones, who is at the moment still got Jabouille glued right to his tail, with of course the very powerful Renault Turbo catching up on the straights, and of course his teammate Regazzoni following on the pair.
Jackie Stewart, we've got the story of the tyres again, because Alan Jones is using Goodyear tyres, and in 2nd position behind him Jean-Pierre Jabouille is on Michelin tyres. Any comments about what's likely to happen as a result of that?
Well, Murray, the chat down in pit lane beforehand from the Renault people was that really they were very pleased that a few clouds were coming over the sky here, because high temperatures were not suiting the Michelin tyres, and they felt that the Goodyears were more suited here. This is a very abrasive circuit here at Silverstone. You can see the car really gripping. That's the white car there with the green flashes on it, car number 27 of Alan Jones, because it's been resurfaced. There's a new abrasive surface here. It could play a lot of trouble to the tyre technicians towards the end of the race. So what you're seeing now may not be what you're going to be looking at probably in another 20 or 30 laps. Alan Jones going to a little wiggle there as he was going through this quick flick of chicane from right to left to right. Really quite a delicate manoeuvre now here at Woodcote. Alan Jones used to doing well, but my goodness, what it would be for Frank Williams, the man who runs this Williams team, if they were to get a success for the Saudi Arabians.
Well, the interest behind these two at the moment is Gilles Villeneuve, the French-Canadian in the Ferrari, the man who has already won 2 Grand Prix this year. He is up into 5th position behind René Arnoux. We are looking at Alan Jones, the leader in the Saudia Williams, the white and green car, and behind him Jean-Pierre Jabouille, the French Grand Prix winner in such sensational style. In 3rd position, it is still Clay Regazzoni. In 4th position, it is still René Arnoux. But now Gilles Villeneuve and Alan Jones nips through and takes the arrows, the gold arrows of Riccardo Patrese, who came into the pits and has rejoined the race. And look at the enormous gap between the 2nd place man, Jean-Pierre Jabouille, and the man who is in 3rd position, and that's Clay Regazzoni, the Swiss driver. He's number 28, and there is Villeneuve. That's Gilles Villeneuve, and if you look at the car in front of him and Jody Scheckter behind him, so the 2 Ferraris are fighting their way up through the field. There is René Arnoux, who is 4th. Behind him, Gilles Villeneuve, who is 5th. In 6th position in the white helmet, Jody Scheckter, and behind Jody Scheckter is number 26, Jacques Lafitte, the Ligier. Across the line goes Villeneuve. There is René Arnoux, the little bird-like René Arnoux, and the very small Gilles Villeneuve, tough Jody Scheckter. And now there is Arnoux, and you can see the great heat haze coming up behind the engines of these cars. They're developing tremendous heat, of course. and there into the right-hander at Beckett's, and that is a 125 miles an hour corner. Gilles Villeneuve and Jody Scheckter behind him. And again, we have the story of Gilles Villeneuve being quicker than his teammate, Jody Scheckter. Scheckter leading the World Championship, Villeneuve in second position. And so they are 5th and 6th, the Ferraris, and the Renaults are in 2nd and 4th positions, with the Williams cars 1st and 3rd. Villeneuve, Scheckter. Villeneuve goes through, Jody Scheckter goes through, and there is the battle with Jacques Lafitte, number 26 in the Blue Ligier, and behind him is Niki Lauda, world champion twice. A very poor season Niki has had this year, because he's been, and Niki Lauda's going to try and take Lafitte. Lafitte holds the line, Lauda tucks in, and that's Jochen Maas behind in the Arrows, and behind him is Keke Rosberg in the Olympus Wolf car. James, what have you got to say about that? Rosberg coming up through the field well, the car you drove.
Yes, I think they're making it go a lot better than I ever made it go now. Rosberg's really coming up. He's joining battle with Lafitte and Lauda, and of course, what we've got...
Niki Lauda there, number 5, and Jochen Maas behind him, and Keke Rosberg right with him. And Niki Lauda then in 7th position with Rosberg and Maas. Maas is 9th, and that's Didier Pironi behind Rosberg. And you can see, look at these cars, there's Lafitte, Lauda. Behind Lauda is Jochen Maas, the West German driver in the Arrows. Behind, there's Rosberg, and then Pironi, and then Carlos Reutemann. So, Lafitte, Lauda. And in front of these two, with this terrific scrap, there is the leader, Alan Jones, and he is now on his 10th lap out of 68. And Alan Jones pulling away now. Number 27, that's the car to watch in the Saudia Williams, Alan Jones. And what has happened to Jean-Pierre Jabouille? Jean-Pierre Jabouille in the turbocharged Renault is missing. There's not a sign of him. There he is. Jackie, is this tactics or is something happening, do you suspect, to Jabouille's car?
Jabouille has a problem. You're seeing a man in trouble right there. Whether his tyres are going off, Murray, or whether it's a mechanical problem for Jean-Pierre Jabouille, he may have made an error of judgment while we were watching the great tussle that's going on behind them, but young Mr. Jabouille now certainly is having trouble. He's lost an enormous amount of ground on Alan Jones. From Alan's point of view, this is a very important cushion, and you're looking at him now there in the white and green Saudi car number 27, Alan Jones from Australia. He likes to have a little bit of space. If I were in this position right now, I would have a cushion, and that's the cushion that I would like. At 11 laps, to look in your mirror and not see a yellow and white car looming into the mirror at every corner is certainly giving the driver a bit of comfort. Alan Jones obviously aware of this position. He gets pit messages being signalled to him from his pits. They get plus on minus. Alan going through there very cleanly. You can see he's using a little less road now. He's being able to stroke the car just a little bit more easily because he's not under that incredible pressure that he was under earlier. Look at him there, looking in his mirror. You see his head dipping to the right and to the left just to make sure that there's no sight as he comes to the end of the main straight. He would normally be seeing Jabouille in the car. This he's not doing, and this must be a comfortable situation for Alan Jones.
Big, burly Alan Jones leading from Jean-Pierre Jabouille, with Regazzoni in the second of the two Saudia Williams cars third. Fourth, René Arnoux in the second of the two turbocharged Renaults. Fifth and sixth in the two Ferraris, Gilles Villeneuve and Jody Scheckter. And so on lap 11, completing lap 11, if Alan Jones goes on to win this British Grand Prix, there will never have been a more popular winner, because Alan Jones has been trying so hard this year and not doing very well. The best, in fact, that he's had was third at Long Beach. He was fourth in France, but he led the Belgian Grand Prix. He drove brilliantly at Monaco and was up into second place and gaining on the leader when he went out. And he's been driving now for some time. He's had an enormous amount of experience, Formula 3, Formula 2, Can-Am champion last year. He won the Austrian Grand Prix in 1977, but that's his only victory, and he should have had a lot more. And he's tremendously popular with the crowd, very quiet, quite reserved, but very eloquent when he starts to talk, and nobody knows his Grand Prix racing better than he does. And he will be, at this moment, as Jackie Stewart says, checking on the mirrors all the time, seeing nothing behind him. He will be getting pit signals from Frank Williams, the team owner and team leader of the Saudia Williams team, and he will know that his cushion is building up all the time. And would you like to hazard a guess, Jackie, at what that Renault trouble is developing to be?
It could be, as I say, it could be a tyre problem. He could be running off some tyres. It seems certain that Alan Jones is not in a tyre problem. And there you see the enormous gap now from that first to second position. Here he comes into Cobb's corner now, and lucky for some, unlucky for others, lap 13. It could be that he's having a turbocharge problem. But looking at the tyres, I can see in our very clear pictures here a groove in the centre of the tyre, and sometimes that reflects that the tyre is rolling. Some of the material of the tyre is rolling into a bit of a groove, and you can see a difference in colour there in the tyres as he goes through there. One of our close shots may be able to depict this for you, and this would suggest that the tyres are beginning to roll, which means that the soft compound is causing trouble here. And there you see it there. You see it on the right-hand side, a completely different line there.
Niki Lauda into the pits. Niki Lauda, the second of the two Parmalat Brabham cars, is into the pits. Nelson Piquet, his teammate, out at the beginning of the race when he spun at Woodcote. Mario Andretti out of the race with suspension trouble, and Niki Lauda, who was in 8th position, is now in the pits, and that means that Jochen Maas in the Arrows has moved up into 8th position. So the positions now on this, the 14th lap. In the lead, Alan Jones in the Saudia Williams. Second, Jean-Pierre Jabouille. Third, Clay Regazzoni. In fourth place, René Arnoux. In fifth position, Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari. There's the second place man, Jean-Pierre Jabouille. In sixth position, the World Championship leader, Jody Scheckter. In seventh place, Jacques Lafitte. In eighth place, Jochen Maas. And James Hunt has a comment. James.
Yes, well, Mario, I think you'll find that the world, while Alan Jones is going quietly on in the leads, extending his lead, the battle, we have potentially a good battle for the World Championship, because we have the three leaders now in line astern. We've got the two Ferraris with Villeneuve leading Scheckter, and Lafitte in striking distance, trying to break away from the big dice of the race, which is the group fighting for 7th and 8th places. But if Lafitte's tyres can come good, I think we may see a very exciting battle, and this could be possibly the really critical battle in the World Championship for the season, with the three leaders all fighting it out together.
9 points for a win, 6 for second place, 4 for third place. So 5 points difference between the first and third men. And there is Gilles Villeneuve, number 12, who is in 5th position. Behind him, Jochen Maas has got ahead of Jody Scheckter. No, it's Patrese, Riccardo Patrese, who has been into the pits already. But Gilles Villeneuve in 5th position is definitely keeping well ahead of Jody Scheckter. Jody just in the World Championship points at the moment. 1 point for 6th position. Villeneuve. Scheckter. Into Woodcote. And Villeneuve slowing right down, and Scheckter's going to take him as they come out of Woodcote and down into Copse. Up into 5th place goes Jody Scheckter, the World Championship leader in the flat 12-cylinder Ferrari. Jackie Stewart.
Gilles Villeneuve had a gear selection problem as he went through the chicane. He missed his gears completely. You can see going over the bumps here, the aerofoils thrashing around there at the front, but Gilles Villeneuve definitely had a transmission problem. So easy in a set of circumstances such as this. You just select the wrong gear. I've done it myself here at Silverstone, and certainly that can happen. Barry Gill's down in the pits right now, so down to you, Barry.
I'm standing with Niki Lauda, twice world champion, who of course won the British Grand Prix, but not today. Niki, what happened?
I just ran out of brakes. I lost my brakes in the end of the straight and coming to the chicane. Nothing I could do.
Why did that happen, do you know, Niki? Because the car seemed to be going extremely well.
We don't know. We have to look at it. Was knocked off of the pads, or we got too high temperatures.
Niki, I'm very sorry to see you out of the race. Thank you for talking to us. Now back to you in the tower.
Lap Lap 16, and we are looking at the battle for 5th and 6th place. Gilles Villeneuve missed his gears, lost 5th place to Jody Scheckter, and will now be trying to retake it, because there are certainly no team orders in the Ferrari team at this stage of the World Championship. There may be later on in the year when the championship has developed, but James, you've seen something about the Ferrari tyres.
Yes, well, I'm not sure, Murray, but they look as if they're marking up just a little bit. I think, as Jackie said, that Jabouille's trouble with tyres. All three cars are on Michelin tyres. They're probably all running the same compound, similar construction, and they do appear to be rolling and marking a little bit. You can just see a little bit of different colouring across the tread. That may mean the tyres going off just a little. But at the same time, Lafitte doesn't appear to be closing on the two Ferraris. He doesn't appear to be losing, and I think that battle is ready to erupt later. At the moment they're holding station, but I'm sure it's going to warm up as the race goes on.
Lap 17 out of 68. In the lead, still Alan Jones in the Saudia Williams. In second place, still Jean-Pierre Jabouille in the Renault. In third position, still Clay Regazzoni in the Saudia Williams. In fourth position, René Arnoux in the Renault. In fifth position, and there he is, Jody Scheckter, followed by in sixth place, and there he is, Gilles Villeneuve, and it's turning into a real battle. In seventh position, Jacques Lafitte. So, in 5th, 6th and 7th places, the men who are leading the World Championship, second in the World Championship, third in the World Championship, that's the man who's second. Ahead of him, Jody Scheckter, the leader. Behind both of them, Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier. James Hunt.
Yes, Murray, the Ferrari tyres are now noticeably graining up a little bit. And just to endorse that observation, I think you'll see that Lafitte is closing up. He's closed appreciably on this lap. So it would seem that with the sunshine come out over this morning's practice runs, when the weather was quite overcast and cool, the Michelin runners were apparently and relatively better off with the Goodyears, but I think maybe they've chosen just a little bit soft on compound. And of course, races are won and lost on choice of compound. If the compound's softer, it's grippier, but of course it doesn't like the heat so much. And there's Lafitte coming in behind the Ferraris now. He's now distinctly within striking distance, and Jabouille comes into the pits.
Jean-Pierre Jabouille in second place, the French Grand Prix leader, into the pits. Jackie Stewart's comment was right, and over to Barry Gill.
Well, as you see here, Jabouille coming in opposite for the tyre change Jackie Stewart talked about. He's been in 4 seconds, 5 seconds. They're not only just taking the front tyres off, they look, as you can see, as if they're changing all the tyres. Jabouille perched in that car, dropping every single tyre being changed, and Jackie Stewart and Murray Walker back in the tower were absolutely correct. The man did have a major tyre problem. He's now been sitting here since he stopped, 24 seconds, 25 seconds. I've never seen mechanics working so hard, but this is a slow change. We saw Ferrari do 80 seconds in France. It's taken over half a minute. They can't get that wheel on. They can't get that onside front wheel on at the moment. They've got a problem. Jabouille is shaking his head, as you can see. It's been 3/4 of a minute, and he's out of the pits. And taking with him, as you can see here, this chaos here, because that jack, that mechanical jack, had not been taken off. It has ripped part of the wing off, and we will see Jabouille come back into this pit because part of the aerofoil was taken off in the paddock. Very non-Renault, very unlike their attitude in the French Grand Prix. Chaos here in the pits. Back to you, Murray Walker.
And that means a change for second place, because up into second place has come the second of the two Saudia Williams cars, Clay Regazzoni. In third place now, René Arnoux in the Renault. In fourth and fifth places, Jody Scheckter is fifth and Villeneuve is fourth. And behind him, Jacques Lafitte goes up into sixth position. Jackie Stewart.
Well, as we look at a very clean Alan Jones clearing his way through this field and beginning to lap the back markers, we have to remark on the pit stop that we just saw, and that is not a lead change there. That's Alan Jones lapping a slower car. That pit stop the Renault had really was a bit of a Japanese fire drill, because really they were all over the place. When I come back from American motor racing and see something of this kind, and we're looking at this in slow motion, look at that. That's an airline that's whipped its way round the aerofoil, dragged the front wing off, and you can see there's one missing on the left-hand side of your picture. The one on the right-hand side is still there. If this were in America, he would be penalized for running over his own airline. Certainly he would have been in and out of the pits in about 12 seconds if it were American stock car racing or at Indianapolis. It just shows that here in Europe, I'm afraid afraid we're well behind the pit work that goes on in American racing, and I hate to suggest that, but this is Bastille Day, and I'm afraid the French are seeing this in a very strange light. It would have been wonderful for them had they been able to be victorious, but unless something changes, this man, the white and green car number 27, Alan Jones, driven by an Australian, made in England and supported by Saudi Arabia, seems to have a very comfortable position.
Jean-Pierre Jabouille's Renault guillotined by its own airline on Bastille Day, and that's something that the French won't like one little bit. And that will have affected the handling, of course, to put it mildly, of the Renault, and it must mean that Jean-Pierre Jabouille is effectively out of the race, and it must mean that Alan Jones now is pacing himself home to the finish, although there is a long way to go because we still have not covered even 1/3 of the race. Alan Jones away down the straight into Cops Corner, 4th gear, 125 miles an hour, then having gone round the right-hander, bears left into Maggots, 5th gear, 10,250 revs, 165 miles an hour, down into 3rd gear for Beckett's, 10,400 RPM, and into the pits again comes Jean-Pierre Jabouille. Jabouille into the pits. He's obviously decided that he can't take it the way the car is handling. It may be something else. They didn't get the wheel on properly, it's quite possible, but over to Barry Gill.
Well, here, as you can see, that front aerofoil is missing, and the problem is that the man you can see kneeling down here is still fixing the reserve aerofoil. So Jabouille, who's already been in the pit 16 seconds, has got no replacement nose to be fitted yet. And this, I'm afraid, is going to be a very long and a very sad job. Back to you in the tower, Murray.
The World Championship battle, as we look at Alan Jones, is hotting up, and there is Patrick Tambay in the M28 McLaren, because the first, second and third men in the World Championship, Jody Scheckter, Gilles Villeneuve and Jacques Lafitte, are now in 4th, 5th and 6th places. The gallant René Arnoux in 3rd position, and in 7th place it is John Watson in the M29 McLaren. So, a quick recap, it is still that man, the leader, Alan Jones, number 27 in the white and green Saudia Williams, in a virtually identical car, a long way, and there he is, but in the last of these two cars here, number 20, there's Alan Jones, and behind him, some way back, as Jones laps Patrick Tambay, is Clay Regazzoni in 2nd place, then the 16, the Renault of René Arnoux, followed in 4th and 5th places by the two Ferraris. 6th, Jacques Lafitte, and 7th, John Watson. That's the old, comparatively old McLaren. And there is John Watson in the new M29 McLaren. And James, nobody knows McLarens better than you do. What do you think of this car?
Well, I think the car's obviously a great improvement on their own, on the previous car that they've just superseded. It's going a steady race. There's no great fireworks from it, but it's obviously a big improvement on their form generally in the season. And I think Watson's driving a very steady race. He's staying fairly close to the feet, who incidentally is still slowly catching the Ferraris.
Jacques Lafitte then gaining on the two Ferraris in front of him. Jacques is in 6th position, number 26, Jacques Lafitte, who won at the Argentine, who won in Brazil, who was in 2nd place in Belgium and is in 3rd place in the World Championship. But that's the M29 McLaren. Those are the two Ferraris, and behind them Jacques Lafitte. Now you can see what James was talking about, because that blue car is the Ligier of Jacques Lafitte, the irrepressible humorist Frenchman, Jody Scheckter, Gilles Villeneuve and Jacques Lafitte. And as they go through, the gap between Jody Scheckter and Jacques Lafitte is 4.12 seconds. Now, if their tyres are going off, and it seems fairly obvious that they are, it's going to be an inexorable process, as there is Charrier, Pironi, Lafitte and Alan Jones. Alan Jones going through to lap tail-enders, and in front of him is Jackie Ips, the Belgian driver, in the 2nd of the two Ligiers. There's Jones on the left.
Well, now it's a question of Alan Jones getting through the slower car cars. This is very important for a Grand Prix driver. You're going to see manners or ill manners now in this next 1 or 2 laps, because Alan Jones, driving the green and white car number 27, is going to have to get past the others. Will they move over as they should do? And there he's slipped inside Jackie X there very cleanly. Jackie X, winner of Le Mans 4 times, a gentleman driver, a man who knows how to behave on a racetrack, moved over and allowed Alan Jones to get through. Now he's tucked in behind Alan Jones, and there you see an amazing sight going into Stowe Corner. Alan Jones outbraking the Ligier there as they went through there. It seemed very strange that in fact he had lifted off a little bit. Very strange going down there. The Ligier very fast on the main straight. Now he has to go to Didier Pironi in the Tyrrell. Didier Pironi, very young driver. Remember, he had an incident in Monte Carlo. He collided with Niki Lauda. Perhaps he has to be looking in his mirror very aggressively here as car number 27 comes along. Alan Jones coming out to lap him. Now, does he see him clearly? Alan Jones has got to get alongside him, cleanly passing Pironi as they go into the chicane. And now he has to look towards Jochen Mass. It's a question of a driver behaving in the appropriate fashion when he sees the faster car, the lead car, coming up behind him. Now remember, there are flag marshals with a blue flag, and they will be waving those blue flags all the way around the circuit now to tell the drivers in front of Alan Jones that he's liable to be overtaken and passed by the race leader. Now he takes a jab at the arrows, and he's got through cleanly again. Very cleanly as he goes through to pass the Jabouille Renault as it's come out of the pits, and there you see your leader very efficiently and cleanly working the field.
Lap 25 in this 68 laps race. Alan Jones leading, having just passed Jochen Mass, followed by Didier Pironi, who he has also lapped. And now Alan has got a virtually clear circuit in front of him. The car number 4, the Candy Tyrrell, is the car driven by Frenchman Jean-Pierre Jarier, and there are 7 Frenchmen in World Championship Grand Prix racing these days. An incredible achievement and a testimony to the French, who have invested an enormous amount of money. And Alan Jones making a passing move as he comes up towards Jarier. Jarier doesn't move over. Alan Jones completes another lap. That's the 25th lap completed by Alan Jones. Jean-Pierre Jabouille in real trouble, and Jones up to Cox now. Jarier will know he's there, of course. He will see him big in his mirrors, but he's not moving over. Why should he? He doesn't have to. Alan Jones still leading by an ever-increasing margin. Now he's down to Beckett's and he goes through. Alan Jones then has successfully lapped Jean-Pierre Jarier through. James.
Well, we've seen an example of the differences between some drivers. We've seen some drivers letting Alan Jones through, quite rightly behaving themselves, and you've seen the sort of pig ignorance that you'd expect from Jarier there going on, because he's really made an idiot of himself, and you saw that from Jackie X, which is surprisingly one so experienced, but I think he's suffering from old age a bit, because not only did he not let Alan through, make Alan have to force his way through, which meant either he wasn't looking in his mirrors or he was half asleep. And he then proceeded to pass him on the straight and harass him down the straight. Jarier tends to drive like that, but the other guys have all let him through quite helpfully and quite properly. But it is very frustrating for a race leader to be stuck behind. And John Watson, I see, coming into the pits now. That's John Watson into the pits.
So, John Watson in the new M29 McLaren. That's hard luck because it went magnificently, and it's going to be a tyre change, obviously. There's a lot of trouble with the left side front. The near side front is the tyre that takes the majority of the wear here at Silverstone. Some of the drivers have a different compound on the front. John Watson was in 7th position, and that's a very, very fast tyre change, and he burns his way out of the pits and leaves a great swathe of black rubber from the rear tyres on the pit lane behind him. As
position ready to take over.
James Hunt said that before the beginning of the race, that Clay was so competitive that if anything happened to Jones, it would be a situation that would be very open to Clay Regazzoni, and this is exactly what's happened today. David Brodie walking down there with Alan Jones, taking off his balaclava. Hopelessly disappointed man. Alan Jones from Australia, so ready to win a race, and Barry Gill is walking with him, no doubt finding out for the BBC team what the problem is.
Alan Jones then out of the race on lap 40, the leader, and he had half a minute lead over Clay Regazzoni, his teammate. when his engine dramatically blew, and there, behind is Clay Regazzoni, number 28, is the new leader of the 33rd British Grand Prix. Only 10 seconds behind him is René Arnoux in the turbocharged Renault. In third place, it is Jacques Laffite. In fourth place, it is Jody Scheckter, followed immediately by Gilles Villeneuve. And in sixth position, it's Keke Rosberg, and over to Barry Gill.
Alan Jones, this is the cruelest luck we've seen at Silverstone for a long time. What happened?
I don't know. Everything was going okay. I was only revving it to about 10.7, braking fairly early, and the engine just let go coming up under the bridge into the chicane.
Alan, you must feel that you're one of the unluckiest men in motor racing. I mean, this race really was very easy for you at this time, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was, but that's why I wasn't very confident before the race. You haven't won it until you cross the line.
Alan, Regazzoni was behind you. Were you running to team orders?
No, we were just spacing us. I was spacing myself to him. They were giving me pluses to him, and I was just driving according to that.
Alan, I'm sure the crowd's reception makes you feel how sorry they are. How are you actually feeling?
Yeah, I'll give you one guess.
Alan, we're very sorry. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah.
And Alan Jones, one of the nicest people in motor racing, can still raise a smile, and that's amazing. There's a man who would be smiling if he wasn't concentrating so hard. It's Clay Regazzoni, 39 years old, oldest man in the race, now leading it, and we are on lap 42. But one of the excitements of the race has been the disappearance of Jean-Pierre Jabouille, who came in to change tyres, had an airline rip off his aerofoil and subsequently retired. Then we had the stirring sight of Frenchman Jacques Laffite in the Ligier, the man who won in the Argentine and Brazil and is in third place in the World Championship. In sixth position, catch and pass. First of all, the Ferrari of Gilles Villeneuve to take fifth place. Then the Ferrari of World Championship leader Jody Scheckter to take fourth place. And now that Alan Jones is out of the race, Jacques Laffite is in third position behind René Arnoux, and we'll soon see. There is Jacques Laffite, the Frenchman from Magny-Cours, a great humorist, a most pleasant man, and he's 36 years old, and this is his 71st Grand Prix. He's won before in Sweden in the old Matra-engined Ligier, and look at Jody Scheckter behind him. This is the battle for third, fourth and fifth places now. The blue and white Ligier, number 26 of Jacques Laffite in fourth place, rounding Beckett's, ahead of Jody Scheckter in fifth place, who is holding on, and Gilles Villeneuve in sixth position. And those men are respectively first, second and third in the World Championship. They're coming up now from Club Corner into Abbey, the 10,000 RPM, 160 mile an hour bend, and Schecter's gaining, and Schecter's going to take him. Jody Scheckter moving up and taking Jacques Laffite as they go into Woodcote at the end of the lap, and their feet into the pits. Yet another car into the pits, and this is really proving to be a race of attrition. Is it all that demanding, this circuit on engines, Jackie Stewart?
Well, certainly the engines have to work very hard because there are high revs, but I'm not sure that it's an engine problem that we're seeing in the blue and white car that's coming in, Ligier, driven by Jacques Laffite, stopping in the pits. They're not aware of what's happening. The team manager plugs in the listening device, the earphones. They're looking behind there. He's able to speak through a microphone to Jacques Laffite with all the noise and interruption around him. He plugs that headset into the helmet of Jacques Laffite. They're then able to communicate. You can see the cord there just above the aerofoil as they're able to speak. Looking in the rear end of the car, there's obviously a problem. He's now speaking to Jacques Laffite, getting the driver's reactions of what he feels is wrong with the car, because although he may not know exactly what's happening, he's pointing at one of the gauges, maybe the rev counter gauge, saying that he's lost a few hundred revs. It could be oil pressure. He's obviously satisfied that it's not something immediately obvious, and he exits from the pits. But nowadays, with the sharpness and speed of Grand Prix motor racing, the end of Jacques Laffite's challenge for the World Championship, at least in this Grand Prix, is over, because he's well behind the competitive end of the field.
Lap 44 out of 68. This is the leader, and this is Clay Regazzoni in the Saudia Williams. He is ahead still of René Arnoux, and we must not forget that Alan Jones has blown an engine. It could always happen to others. but Clay Regazzoni through Woodcote to complete his 44th lap out of 68 as René Arnoux comes up and into the pits now goes Keke Rosberg in 5th position. This is quite incredible. We haven't seen a Grand Prix like this for a very long time, with drivers in and out of the pits with every kind of trouble. James Hunt, your guess?
Well, I can't see what's wrong with Keke's car there. He appeared to be going very well indeed, no problems at all, so I fear it may be something a bit sudden and a bit serious. It's a great tragedy, you know, when we get so much drama in a race like this. We get all the leaders going into the pits like this. It becomes a race of attrition. We had a particularly exciting situation developing there with Lafitte and the two Ferraris battling it out, and of course it's now gone. And Lafitte's just gone past me, misfiring very badly. So I think Lafitte's in pretty terminal trouble as well.
So Jacques Lafitte's World Championship and British Grand Prix hopes destroyed. Keke Rosberg, who was in a magnificent 5th position, way out of the running now, but still up at the front on lap 45, Clay Regazzoni. Not so very far behind him, René Arnoux. In 14 seconds behind is René Arnoux. Then the two Ferraris moving up in the World Championship points position, Jody Scheckter and Villeneuve. And now the new 5th place man, Jean-Pierre Jarier, in the Candy Tyrrell, and Keke Rosberg, of course, out of the running as he is into the pits, albeit now, I think, out of them. So, Regazzoni, a man with more Grand Prix experience than anybody else on this circuit, even when the race began. This is his 123rd Grand Prix, on his way as we look at Scheckter and Villeneuve. Down towards us, Elio De Angelis, the young Italian who was extremely good in practice in the shadow with the new rear suspension. And over the crest of the skyline becomes Patrick Gaillard in the Ensign, yet another French driver, and a very, very good one, up from Formula 3, about to be lapped in the Ensign by Jody Scheckter in the Ferrari, in the white helmet, the flat 12, 500 horsepower Ferrari, Gilles Villeneuve and Jacques Lafitte yet again into the pits. There he is, Jacques Lafitte, and it would seem from the fact that this is the second time in 3 laps that he's gone into the pits that his race must surely be run. And there you see one of the most successful Formula 1 cars of 1979, but not in this race, because Jackie X, good and experienced, and out, finish, that's it, all over as far as Jacques Lafitte is concerned. And Jackie X goes on in the second of the 2 Ligiers. But Jacques Lafitte's race is run as we look at Gilles Villeneuve, number 12, who is now in 4th position, chasing Jody Scheckter. No team orders, but it would be folly indeed if Gilles Villeneuve tried anything wild. Would you expect him to, James Hunt?
No, I don't think he's going to try anything wild with his own teammate, with the pressure that you get from Ferrari, but I know that Gilles is a very hard charger indeed. He's an out-and-out competitor, and he'll want to get past Scheckter any way he can, so long as he doesn't take any risk. I don't think we'll see any bumping and boring like we saw in France, so. Yeah, Scheckter's just gesticulated to him. I think he may be in some sort of trouble and possibly suggesting that Villeneuve goes past him, or else he may have been making a rude sign to tell him to keep his distance. I don't know, let's wait and see what happens.
Well, if Scheckter is in trouble, he'll have to be to let Gilles Villeneuve pass, because Jody is a very hard charger himself, very difficult man to pass, and he knows, of course, just as well as Villeneuve does, that Villeneuve is second to him, Jody Scheckter, in the World Championship position. Scheckter with 30 points, Villeneuve with 26 points, followed by Jacques Lafitte, who is now out of the race with 24 points. So this being so, it would now seem virtually certain, the way the points system is organised in the championship, that Jody Scheckter or Gilles Villeneuve will be the 1979 world champion. That's a forecast early in the season, but it's very likely. Jackie Stewart, agree?
Yes, it certainly looks like the Ferraris can do it. I think, in fact, that Jody Scheckter, for me, the man who's leading this duo at this time, would be the most likely man to do it, but Gilles is certainly giving him a hard time right now. It could be that Jody Scheckter's giving his tyres a little bit of an easy time. He wants his teammate to sit behind, because remember, there are only 2 cars ahead of him to take the lead. Now the Goodyear runners must be certainly biting their fingernails, because from being in a very dominant position, the Goodyear runners have slowly dropped themselves out of the race with mechanical troubles, and right now second, third and fourth positions are being handled by the Michelin holders, so it could be that there's a real problem. Now the Michelins are certainly having tyre troubles, and if they have to go into the pits at this stage in the race, they really would have to give away the strong position they hold. If Scheckter is having trouble, and you can see the tyres, the darkness going round the car there, going round the tyre, you can see the difference in colour between the good part of the tyre and the worn part of the tyre. It's really a question of heat, so they are having trouble, and it's just a question of time.
And here's news. Up into 6th position has come Jackie Ickx, the man who only came back into Formula One racing at the French Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. Is Jody Scheckter going to change tyres? He's coming up to Woodcote. Villeneuve behind him in 3rd position, then Scheckter. Villeneuve in 4th place. Ferrari, and through over the line they go to complete their 48th lap. René Arnoux still in 2nd position, down to Copse, 125 miles an hour. So, and that is the position, the Ferrari with Barry Gill in the foreground, waiting to tell us about it. The Ferrari pits are obviously readying tyres for one of their competitors to come in. Oh, Barry Gill.
Well, as you see here, the Ferrari pit is always prepared. Mario Forghieri has been with them about 20 years, has been making all sorts of signals, waving his fingers in the air, saying all tyres, one tyre, coming in one lap. They're still waiting, but one thing is sure, I'm convinced that one of these Ferraris is going to make a pit stop, and then we'll probably see the smartest bit of pit work we've ever seen, including Jackie Stewart's pit work in America.
And the interesting thing is that Jean-Pierre Jabouille on Michelin tyres came in to change them. It would appear that Scheckter and Villeneuve, who are on Michelin, have some sort of a problem, and behind them is now in 5th position Jean-Pierre Jarier, in 6th position Jackie Ickx. So another lap almost completed. The chicane. Are they going to take any notice next time round? I'm watching the Ferraris, and yes, out goes a pit signal again. There is indeed some sort of an instruction being given to the Ferraris, but neither of them seem to be taking any notice as they go on. And this is lap 51 out of 68. Clay Regazzoni ahead of these two. René Arnoux in the Renault ahead of these two. So Saudia Williams leads. Turbocharged Renault second. Ferraris third and fourth. In 5th position, the Candy Tyrrell of Jean-Pierre Jarier. In 6th position, Jackie Ickx in the Ligier.
Murray Walker.
In the closing stages of the British Grand Prix, lap 64 out of 68, Regazzoni leads, but now there is the excitement, because Jody Scheckter, number 11, has just lost 3rd position to the car in front of him. Number 4, the Candy Tyrrell of Frenchman Jean-Pierre Jarier, who has driven for so many Formula One teams and is going to finish very high up in this British Grand Prix. Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari, who was just behind Jody Scheckter, has been into the pits for a fresh set of tyres. And on lap 64, this lap, it is Clay Regazzoni with his teammate out of the race on about the 40th lap with engine trouble. Clay Regazzoni, 39 years old, the oldest driver in the race, his 123rd Grand Prix, leading from the Frenchman René Arnoux, who had that titanic battle with Gilles Villeneuve in the French Grand Prix. Arnoux in the turbocharged 1.5-litre Renault. Down to 4th position goes Scheckter. Up to 3rd position goes Jean-Pierre Jarier that we're looking at now. In 5th place it is John Watson in the McLaren M29, and behind him it is Jackie Ickx in 6th place. Here is Clay Regazzoni competing almost as he goes on his 65th lap now. He's going down Hanger Straight, and in front of him is Elio De Angelis, the young Italian driver in his first season of Formula One, driving for Shadow. And Clay Regazzoni, with the knowledge that Alan Jones is out of the race, with the knowledge that Regazzoni finished 2nd at Monaco, which was one of his proudest moments, notwithstanding the fact that he has won 5 Grand Prix himself, is now probably quite a worried man. And Ferraris are reputed to have fuel trouble, because there's one of them. It's Villeneuve limping along, and look at that. It looks as though the Ferrari of Villeneuve is coming in for fuel. He's already been in for tyres. Jody Scheckter is plugging on, notwithstanding the fact that he's got tyre trouble, because his tyres are wearing fast, but he's staying out. There's Villeneuve coming into the pit, Gilles Villeneuve. And Jody Scheckter is going on in a determined effort to try and finish the race and get World Championship points. And Villeneuve, from the way the car is stuttering, is clearly on the last dregs of his fuel as we look at Jody Scheckter on lap 66 out of 68 in 4th position behind Jean-Pierre Jarier, and in the running therefore for 3 points in the World Championship, which he needs very much because he's leading with 30 points from his teammate Villeneuve with 26. Scheckter. Gilles Villeneuve, I can look down into the pits area and see that he's out of the car, and there you can see for yourself. And when the driver gets out of the car, that's it. The race is over for Gilles Villeneuve, and Barry Gill is down in the pits.
Well, I've never seen a more disappointed driver than Gilles Villeneuve. He knows that this has really affected his World Championship. He came in, he didn't even bother about telling anyone what happened. He just climbed out of the car. But there's more drama here, because they're now getting ready to change the tyres on Scheckter's car. Just look at this pit scene here, with everybody ready for Scheckter, the World Championship leader, to come in. They're ready with fuel, they're ready with tyres, just in case Scheckter should make a dramatic last gasp pit stop. Back to you, Murray.
Lap 67 in this 68 lap race, and if Scheckter has to come in to change tyres, this is going to be sensational, because he will certainly be out of the World Championship points positions. There he is, and he's ignored the pit signal, and Jody Scheckter has decided to drive on. He will be able to see the condition of his tyres in his mirrors, and he must have made his own judgment that it's better to go on and risk it than come into the pits and certainly lose World Championship points. Jody Scheckter then in 4th position ahead of John Watson, and in 6th place behind the McLaren it's Jackie Ickx. There is René Arnoux ahead of John Watson. John Watson is closing with René Arnoux, and it's getting very close indeed, and that means to say, could mean to say that John Watson is up into 3rd position, which seems incredible. René Arnoux is 2nd. No, still leading, it's Clay Regazzoni, still 2nd, René Arnoux. And there is Arnoux coming up to Scheckter to take him again, because he's already passed him once in this race. On his way then, in 2nd place, René Arnoux, comment Jackie Stewart.
The problem now, and we see a great battle here in this just closing stages of the British Grand Prix. Jody Scheckter on the red car there, the 2nd car in your position. René Arnoux is in 2nd, but Jody Scheckter there, and John Watson is now closing up on Jody Scheckter, and it could be that John Watson could misplace Jody Scheckter. It's really been a race of mixes here, a race of tyres more than anything else, because the Michelin tyres certainly have not been able to stand up to the enormous adhesion they've been getting around the super fast Silverstone circuit and warm temperatures here today. And the Goodyears certainly are doing well, and it could easily be here that the Michelins could in fact be getting into a major problem. So it's certainly a great day for Goodyear. 68 laps, he's on his final lap.
So Clay Regazzoni almost home to win the first race ever for the Saudia Williams team, and Frank Williams will be beside himself with joy. Into Woodcote for the last time. And Clay Regazzoni goes across the line, and he has won the British Grand Prix. But behind him, this terrific battle for 2nd place. There is René Arnoux, and it's John Watson ahead of Jody Scheckter. Behind, there is René Arnoux, who is 2nd. John Watson behind him, must be in 3rd position. Jody Scheckter is behind. And there, across the line, goes René Arnoux, followed by John Watson, and Jody Scheckter has made it. Jody Scheckter then is across the line. His tyres have lasted the race, and John Watson has driven an absolutely superb race to come storming through in the last stages. And Jean-Pierre Jarier is 3rd, John Watson is 4th. So, there is Clay Regazzoni, followed by Jean-Pierre Jarier, the man who finished in 3rd position. So a win, and Regazzoni must be smiling his head off inside that helmet of his in the Saudia Williams car. Jean-Pierre Jarier comes up alongside him. So a win for Clay Regazzoni. 2nd, René Arnoux. In 3rd place, Jean-Pierre Jarier. In 4th place, John Watson. In 5th position is Jody Scheckter. And